Hey everyone, this is Sage Dudley. I know this is something a little bit different from me, but my husband and a few of his friends have a deep respect for the Souls series. Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. So I honestly thought that I would try and dip my feet into the waters of the Souls series with Bloodborne. And man, was it a wild ride. The enemies, the locations, the lore, the music whenever it was in place, everything got to me. So, what I want to do is a top 10 bosses of Bloodborne that I thought were either the most interesting, difficulty, even though in my playthrough most of the bosses I fought were done in about 1 or 2 tries. Now I just want to stress, this list is my opinion, and if any of you have any other bosses that didn't make it onto this list that you think were either more difficult and more challenging, make sure to leave a comment down below. Also, the bosses in this list are from the main game. I didn't touch into the DLC that much, so I don't really know how the bosses in the DLC play. Maybe in New Game Plus I'll try it out, but we'll see. Number 10 is the Witch of Hemmlich. I know this optional boss may not seem too difficult, but when the mad ones, the ads that she spawns during the boss fight, are in play, it can be a little difficult to try and focus on the witch. Especially during the second phase whenever a second one appears, which apparently the first one was a doppelganger. The real one appears after you kill the first one. Then things start to get real. Both of the witches will be able to do a stun lock move on you that will hold you in place while either her or the mad ones go after you. Now honestly, this boss wasn't really too difficult, which is why she's pretty low on the list. Number 9 is the Cleric Beast. Again, another optional boss, but this time is at the beginning of the game in Central Yharnam. I didn't realize that this boss was optional. I honestly thought that this boss was going to be mandatory to fight. And even though I used a summon in some of these bosses, for this one I used the Father Deskon summon, I beat this boss on my first try. Not kidding. I didn't even know its attack patterns. I didn't know how it was going to react to me, how I was going to make sure to get either to the side or behind it. Especially with the Scourge Beast enemies that were way before it. When I beat it at the first try, I was honestly stunned. Because I know for a fact that in the Demon Souls series and Dark Souls games, bosses don't take one try. These games are all about trial and error, which is something I will learn from all of the regular enemies anyway. But most of the bosses, not really. And also design-wise, from what I found out, the Cleric Beast was modeled after a Wendigo. Pretty interesting if you ask me. Number 8, Vicar Amelia. Oh boy. If that cutscene at the very beginning, before you fight her, was any indication, she would give you trouble. Even though I don't exactly remember, I think I beat her on my first or second try. Like I said, I don't remember, but just the design of her after the transformation from this woman to this complete monstrosity was honestly kind of heartbreaking. A woman from the clergy of the church transformed into this by the plague of the beasts. The lore is some pretty powerful stuff. Number 7. Rom, the Vicarous Spider. This one I knew I would probably have some trouble with, even though I had a summon with me. Even though I was there whenever Sam did it before, coaching him to figure out when to move during her attack patterns. This boss was also difficult, especially, I honestly remember at the very end, whenever I hit her and killed her, I thought I nearly died. I thought I died after I killed her. But I knew that I only had like about a little bit of health left, even though it looked like I didn't have any. I was stunned whenever I defeated her at that little bit of health, because she did this AoE attack towards the very end where she essentially explodes. I thought that killed me. Both Sam and I were in awe. Both of us thought that I was dead. But I lived, and I was able to see the cutscene. Really creepy. Number 6. Father Deskon. Man, this was a hard one. This was probably the boss that took me 2 tries. Just the story behind him. The fact that the little girl's mother, Viola, goes out to find him while he's out hunting, trying to make him remember his family, but forgetting the music box that she would use to help him remember. And then after you fight him, you find her. And the red jeweled brooch that she wears. It's honestly sad. And this fight is actually pretty tough. Like I said, he's a fellow hunter, so he is able to wield a weapon as well as a ranged weapon. But then when we get to phase 3, he transforms into a beast. I mean, yeah, you can get the tiny music box and use it to stun him, but that only works a few times. I think I only used it once. Once during that entire fight, and I was still able to beat him. Number 5. Kailash, host of the nightmare. This boss was annoying. This one took me about 3 tries. Mostly because I didn't know where to go. Also the fact that the skeletal puppets throughout this maze. And the fact that he's a complete and utter dick. During the first phase, he's completely cowardly, not really doing much damage to you except for the tentacles. But then during the second phase, whenever he starts using the tentacles and a call beyond, he gets way more aggressive. Although for me, a call beyond didn't really hit me because I kept on dodging it, even though I read that it would be extremely difficult to dodge. But I was able to hit him, even though he kept on moving and I couldn't land that last hit on him. It was really annoying, mostly because my sense of direction isn't really that good, and I got lost. But I was able to beat him. Number 4. The one reborn. Man, this thing is creepy looking for a great one. Just this amalgamation of corpses, arms, legs, so many heads. Plus the 6 chime maidens that are along the side of the arena. You have to kill them first before you can actually hurt the one reborn. Luckily, they don't respawn, but the one reborn is able to employ some pretty powerful stuff. Especially an attack where he essentially vomits, and that takes about half your health. I honestly thought that this boss was going to give me issues, but I eventually beat it. I honestly beat it in my first try. That honestly surprised me. A lot of these bosses surprised me. Number 3. Martyr Ladarius. Again, this boss was optional, since the Forsaken Canehurst Castle was an optional area anyway. The fact that he was able to employ magic attacks, which honestly is only possible in the Souls series, he was pretty dangerous, since he could get you at a range, as well as, at one point, he would stick his sword into the ground and it would cause damage over time. That was annoying. The first time, I didn't realize that you could attack the sword. The next few times I did. Plus, he was able to take out a bit of my health with some close range stuff too. Number 2. Celestial Emissary. Whoo boy, this place was a doozy. Even though I kind of figured that this area was optional. This boss... oh man. The fact that you have to find the real Celestial Emissary among these other mini Celestial Emissaries is difficult enough. But then in the second phase, whenever the Celestial Emissary grows and starts using magic at you, it honestly becomes a lot tougher, especially because the mini Celestial Emissaries keep on spawning. They can easily overwhelm you. But hey, their designs are cool, like most great ones. Aside from the one reborn. Before I get to my number 1, I want to mention some honorable mentions. Blood-Starved Beast. This boss, even though I had a summon with it, wasn't really that bad, aside from the fact that it could cause slow poison in the second phase with this pollen stuff. All I had to really do was just watch its movements. Especially with all these bosses, I had to watch their movements. Shadow of Yharnam. I seriously thought that these 3 bosses would give me trouble, because I knew Sam had trouble with them whenever he fought them. But I managed to beat them before they were either able to summon the snakes, or before they were to transform. Ebritis, Daughter of the Cosmos. Again, another optional boss. The design of her was really creepy looking. Everything about her was dangerous. Luckily, she never hit me with her ranged attack, which I honestly did not want to experience at all. Dark Beast Parl. I did not know about this boss until later on. When I went back for him, I didn't think he was going to be that difficult, and he really wasn't, aside from him being electrical. Now for my number 1, and honestly the culmination of everything that I enjoyed about Bloodborne. Virgos Wet Nurse. The final boss of the main game. This was the boss that honestly gave me the most trouble. Mostly due to the fact of her mist phase, where she summons a clone of herself and constantly tries to attack you. I did not know how to counter this the first 3 times I fought her. But then I read that during this phase, you keep moving. You do not stop moving. Other than that, she wasn't really that difficult. As long as I kept to the back of her, as long as I was able to evade her attacks and just stay behind her, she didn't really pose that much of a threat. Even though she was the culmination, the response of everything that was going on. This was honestly the main reason why I enjoyed Bloodborne. And I think if I do decide to do New Game Plus, I'll enjoy it even more. And hopefully, maybe someday, I'll try and do Dark Souls 3. Thank you for listening to my list. I've never honestly done a top 10 list before, so this was honestly new territory for me. If you liked it, please try and check out some of my other videos, as well as my husband's list of top 10 bosses in Bloodborne. Thanks for listening. Have a good day, guys.